Chapter 1. Emily was feeling very sad. She had lost her job at a local bookstore, and the days seemed long and empty. Each morning she woke up with a heavy heart, unsure of what to do. To make things worse, the winter was cold and gray, and it felt like everything around her was frozen. One day, Emily decided to go for a walk in the park. She hoped that the fresh air would make her feel better. As she walked, she noticed a big oak tree standing strong and tall. It was beautiful, even in the winter. Most of its leaves had fallen, but one small leaf was still clinging to a branch. Emily sat down on a bench near the tree and stared at the last leaf.
"Why do you still hold on?"
she whispered.
"Everything else has fallen. You should let go and rest."
But the leaf stayed, shaking gently in the cold wind. Emily felt a connection with the leaf. She wished she could be as strong as it was. Chapter 2. Days turned into weeks, and Emily returned to the park every day. The last leaf remained on the tree, even as snow began to cover the ground. She found comfort in its presence. One day she brought her sketchbook and decided to draw the tree and the last leaf. As she drew, she imagined what the leaf might be thinking. "I will not give up," she thought. "I will keep holding on." As Emily sketched, she began to feel a little better. The act of drawing brought her joy and helped her forget her worries. She realized that even in difficult times, there could be moments of happiness. Chapter 3. One evening, as Emily sat on a bench under the oak tree, she noticed a soft sound beside her. An elderly man, wearing a thick scarf and a warm hat, sat down on the bench. He had a friendly smile and bright eyes that seemed to twinkle in the dim light.
"Isn't it a lovely tree?"
he said, glancing up at the old oak. Emily nodded, looking at the last leaf still hanging on.
"Yes, it is. That one leaf gives me hope."
The old man smiled wider.
"I feel the same way. It's amazing how something so small can mean so much, isn't it?"
They talked about the weather and the beauty of the park. Emily learned that the man's name was Mr. Thompson. He had lived in the neighborhood for many years and visited the park every day. Emily liked his stories about the neighborhood's past, filled with memories of children playing and families gathering under the trees. After a few minutes, Emily opened up to Mr. Thompson about her life.
"I lost my job last month.
She admitted, feeling a little shy.
It's been really tough for me. I don't know what to do next."
Mr. Thompson listened carefully, his eyes warm with understanding.
"I've had my share of difficult times too.
He said.
But you know, sometimes it's the little things that help us through. Like this tree, for example. It stands tall despite the storms and cold."
Emily thought about his words.
"You're right.
She said softly.
I've been so focused on my problems that I forgot to appreciate the small things."
Every day is a new opportunity. Mr. Thompson encouraged her. Try to find joy in something small, and the bigger picture will become clearer. That night, Emily felt a sense of comfort after talking with Mr. Thompson. His kindness inspired her to think differently about her situation. Maybe she could find strength in small moments, just like the last leaf on the tree. Chapter 4. Weeks passed, and Emily made it a habit to visit the park each morning. Every time she walked to the oak tree, She felt a sense of calm wash over her. The last leaf was still there, holding on against the cold winds and snow. It became her personal symbol of strength. One chilly morning, she stood in front of the tree, feeling the icy breeze against her cheeks. She spoke to the leaf as if it could hear her.
I admire your courage.
She said,
You keep fighting to stay on this tree, even when everything around you is falling apart.
As she spoke, a thought crossed her mind. What if she could show the same strength? Emily decided to take action instead of waiting for things to change. She started by updating her resume, using the quiet time under the oak tree to think about her skills and what she truly wanted in a job. Each day, she spent a little time applying for positions online. It was scary, but she reminded herself of the last leaf. If it could hold on through winter, she could take small steps to move forward in her life. One day, while sitting on the bench, she met Mr. Thompson again. He brought a thermos of hot chocolate and offered her a cup. They shared warm drinks and talked about life.
Have you thought more about what you want to do?
He asked. Emily nodded.
Yes, I've started applying for jobs again. It's challenging, but I feel more hopeful now.
Good for you.
Mr. Thompson replied.
Remember, it's not about how quickly you get there, it's about the journey. Each application is a step towards something new.
Encouraged by Mr. Thompson's words, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. With each application she submitted, she felt lighter and more optimistic. One afternoon, as she walked through the park, she noticed the buds starting to form on the old oak tree. She felt a rush of excitement.
Look,
She called out to Mr. Thompson, who was nearby.
the tree is getting ready for spring.
He came over and looked up at the tree, his face lighting up with a smile.
Yes, it is. Just like you. It's preparing for new beginnings.
Emily grinned. She realized that just as the tree was getting ready for new leaves, she too was preparing for a new chapter in her life. The cold winter had been long and tough, but it was not forever. The coming spring would bring change and new opportunities. Feeling inspired, she promised herself to keep moving forward. She would not let fear stop her from pursuing her dreams. Each day, she would remind herself of the strength of the last leaf and the wise words of Mr. Thompson. Together, they symbolized resilience, and Emily knew that she could be strong, just like the oak tree. Chapter 5. As spring arrived, the weather warmed, and the park transformed into a vibrant place filled with flowers and new leaves. Emily continued to visit the oak tree every day. It felt like a part of her journey, a reminder of how far she had come. One sunny afternoon, she received an email about a job interview at a local community center. Emily felt a mix of excitement and nerves. She prepared for the interview by practicing her answers and researching the center's programs. She thought about Mr. Thompson's words and decided to embrace this opportunity. On the day of the interview, she dressed in her best outfit and took a deep breath before leaving her apartment. As she walked to the community center, she felt a surge of confidence.
I can do this.
She whispered to herself. The interview went well. Emily spoke about her passion for helping others and her ideas for community programs. The interviewer smiled and nodded, showing interest in what she had to say. When she left the building, Emily felt proud of herself, no matter the outcome. A few days later, she received a phone call. "Congratulations, Emily," the voice on the other end said. "We would like to offer you the job." Emily couldn't believe it. "Thank you so much," she exclaimed, her heart racing with joy. She hung up the phone, feeling a wave of happiness wash over her. That evening, she rushed to the park to share the good news with Mr. Thompson. When she found him sitting on their usual bench, she could hardly contain her excitement.
"I got the job,"
she shouted, and Mr. Thompson's face lit up with joy.
"That's wonderful,"
he replied.
"I knew you could do it."
They celebrated together, sharing stories and laughter. Emily felt grateful for Mr. Thompson's support throughout her journey. He had helped her see the beauty in the little things and encouraged her to find strength within herself. As they watched the sun set behind the oak tree, Emily looked up at the branches full of new leaves. She smiled, knowing that she had overcome her challenges and was ready for the next chapter of her life. Chapter 6. With her new job, Emily felt a sense of purpose and excitement. Each day brought new opportunities to connect with people in the community. She organized events and activities, and her love for helping others grew stronger. Mr. Thompson became a regular visitor to the community center, often volunteering his time to help with events. Emily was grateful for his friendship and guidance. They often reminisced about the days they spent under the oak tree, sharing stories and supporting each other. As spring turned into summer, the park became a lively place filled with laughter and joy. Emily often returned to the oak tree, now full of green leaves, to reflect on her journey. It reminded her of the strength she had found in herself. One afternoon, she sat under the tree, sketching its branches as a way to remember the moments that had changed her life.
"Thank you for being my inspiration,"
she said softly to the tree.
"You taught me to hold on, even when things seemed tough."
Emily realized that life would continue to bring challenges, but she now knew how to face them with strength and resilience. Just like the last leaf on the tree, she would keep holding on and finding beauty in each moment.